Hey everybody, Kyle and Brandon. Today we're combining two of our favorite drills you're probably already doing. And if not, at some point in time coaching with us, you're probably going to be doing both of them. The Shinbox Get Up and the 90-90 transition. Brandon's going to jump in, cover it in depth with you, some of the faults and some of the benefits. And then we're going to shift over and talk about how to use this as an assessment tool beyond it just saving time and making your warm-up more efficient. Brandon?
Yeah, so one of the big reasons I like this is it kind of kills two birds with one stone. You're kind of doing two of our favorite preparatory drills for the hip within one movement. So I really like this for that exactly. But there's a lot of faults with this too. So one of the big ones I want to cover, well, first off, we'll go over how this should be properly done. So first off, our classic 90-90 start position. And then we're going to go ahead and transition to one side here and then turn it into a Shinbox get up. From here, we're going to make sure we're nice, slow, deliberate hinge down, demonstrating control throughout, and then going to the other side and doing the same thing. Now, one of the big faults that I see here, first one since I'm already up, I'm going to cover, is not hinging on the eccentric. This is super, super common where people try to remain super tall as they go down here and then don't really demonstrate the best control either. So once I get to the top here, I'm going to go ahead and hinge as deliberately and as controlled as possible, like so. Nice and slow. A lot of the benefit comes from this eccentric here until my glutes touch, upright myself, and then transition sides. That's going to be the first big fault. The second big fault is momentum. Okay, so having to hinge a little bit to get up, again, should be deliberate, like so. From this tall position, hinge little, then get up. We want to kind of break it down piece by piece. But what we definitely don't want to see is something like this. All day, super easy. That makes this drill incredibly easy and you just don't get a ton out of it, okay? So one more time, we want to be deliberate, hinge first, come up, and actually let our musculature do the work rather than getting momentum to get up. And the last common fault here is transitioning the feet and your foot position to make it easier. So oftentimes this happens after somebody gets in the Shinbox Get Up, they go to one side and then they transition, get their feet under them, and then go from there. We want to remain in this 90-90 position as we actually go to the Shinbox Get Up portion. Those are going to be the three main faults that we see. Kyle, pass it over to you.
So you'll notice how controlled and deliberate Brandon did this. I have to highlight that. When we were doing this or drills like this in jiu-jitsu practice, it was a flow. It was a momentum drill. And I always highlight that because we're not the only people to do these types of drills. But look at the intent that he put into here. If you're going to get anything out of your warm-ups, this has to be done mindfully, slow, controlled. Brandon didn't bring it up, but I guarantee there was a small brace set there, and I watched him. That stacking of his rib cage and torso is there. Opening the hips up, mobilizing, strengthening, stabilizing, and also practicing that beautiful hip hinge that you're going to use to some extent in all of your lower body exercises. So that's a lot of stuff we just crammed at you. Basically, we're saying do it slow and with intent because it's covering all those areas. Now, how do I use this for an assessment tool? Well, you should probably video it. If your coach on our staff hasn't told you to video this yet, at some point in time they might. That doesn't mean you can't video this and some of your preparatory drills to see, am I hinging enough? Am I controlled to the ground? Really what we're looking for is imbalances. So you can watch it and you can feel it. Show me that kind of extended position you were in before and the difference between the internal and left to right.
Yeah, so I'll show you this real quick. So we're not perfect. We're coaches, we're not perfect either, and I personally have an issue with my 90-90 transition, especially on this right hip. So as you see here, once I go to the side, I get just the tiniest bit of momentum needed to get up on the Shinbox Get Up on this side in particular. It's because I'm not perfect and I do have a little bit of a right hip issue and internal rotation. So when I go to left here, what you'll notice is I really struggle getting this all the way down. So I somewhat have to force it down, and then it's kind of hard to get up from here. But if I go to the other side, cakey, easy. Really, really good internal rotation on this left hip here. So as you can see, a bit of an issue there, but it's important to recognize that through this being a tool to assess that as well.
Now there's a great real life example for you. It's not always going to be internal rotation. You might just feel tightness in your hip, external rotation. You might have to bend at the waist to get to one side. There's a ton of things this can teach you. Now, it may not mean anything to you right away, so if you're working with coaching staff, you might want to highlight that, hey, I noticed this on this side, I feel this on this side. It can be great information for us. but just be aware of what your body's telling you. You don't have to be an expert at diagnosing this stuff. If you feel extra tight on one side randomly and you're not, and you go to do squats and on your warm-up sets, you're noticing that right knee wants to drop in a little bit, there's more information backing up what just happened, telling you you might need a couple extra sets on that side. Maybe time to bring in some of the soft tissue tools and do a little bit of extra soft tissue work. It's just extra information for you before you start to load the body and the spine. Brandon?
Yeah, I think that about covers it. Like he said before, we just want to make sure that we're doing this with a ton of intent. I really like something in particular Kyle said. Videotape this. Videotape this. You know, a lot of people are afraid to videotape their working set of training. But even people that do, they still miss their warm-ups. Unfortunately, even if you have great body control, great body awareness, it's still really hard to tell if you're doing this correctly without actually seeing it. So make sure you videotape this, and if you work with a coach, definitely send it to them.